All right, everybody, welcome to number 2 of It's a Morenz Minute with Liam Maguire. This is a spin-off of Offside with Hutson and Maguire. Of course, our fabulous weekly webcast that Chris and I do that's brought to you by Hosey and Brown Automotive and Shoeless Joe's and Redneck Lager. So we thank them very much for the different parts of the show that they're responsible for. But this is an abbreviated version of it brought to you by me. And just so I can stay topical, and it saves me writing everything down. If you choose to watch it, great. I'm going to try and make it very quick here and just blow through what I saw last night. I'll touch on the Trouba incident, but the Trouba situation in New York just before I finish. But last night, so this is the way I'll watch the games. Okay, give you a quick snapshot here right now. Here we go, Morenz Minute. Lindy Ruff coached his 1,800th game. That's number 4 on the all-time list in NHL history. It's pretty good. It's up there with some good company. Scotty, of course, is number 1. There's some guys breathing down Scotty's neck. We'll see. Paul Maurice, at the conclusion of this season, will only be a couple hundred games back of Scotty. Wouldn't that be something? It's a number nobody thought anybody would ever match as a coach. But right now, Lindy Ruff, last night, for another loss by the Buffalo Sabres, mind you, coached his 1,800th game. Pretty impressive. Patrick Laine, the Montreal Canadiens. I probably should have opened with that one for obvious reasons. 2 goals, 2 games, both absolutely pure snipe jobs. Montreal's had a couple 5-on-3s earlier this year, did not score. And in fact, did not score on 5-on-3 last season at all. This year, last night with Laine, they scored, he scored, and it was just another beauty shot. It was an absolute bullet. It's a laser, and certainly helped propel the Habs to a 3-0 win over Nashville, who are kind of patsies right now. It's surprisingly, Nashville did not score at least 2 in that game because that's how they lost the previous 4 games. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. Last night, 3-0. So this bodes well for Ottawa tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens. Laine Hutson, 5-game point streak, 5-game assist streak, which is second only to Chris Chelios on the Montreal Canadiens for most consecutive assists in a game, most consecutive games with an assist by a rookie. Impressive stuff, what we're seeing out of this kid. Every single night, he dazzles and amazes, and we'll see. Monty played great last night in net, and the big boys did their job, even though it was Evans shorthanded and Armia with the empty netter, not 2 guys who score too often. However, we'll take the goals from anywhere we can get them, as Montreal squeezed out a W and have a very abbreviated, very unusual 2-game winning streak, which will probably come to a crashing halt against Washington tomorrow night. We'll see. Caps have a tough one tonight against Toronto. That should be must-watch if you're a hockey fan. It should be a good game. Let's move on. Tampa Bay Lightning, second fastest 4 goals in their history to start a game. Who else? Florida beat Philadelphia 7-5. Matthew Tkachuk has had 9 points in the last 2 games. Hey, look, at the end of the day, that's impressive as hell. 9 points last 2 games. You want to talk about hot. Now, Wayne Gretzky once did score 9 goals in 2 games. Different story, different guy. Let's move on. Last night, Seattle beat the Islanders 5-2. And playing the last 20 minutes in nets for the Islanders in that loss, although he did not allow a goal, was Marcus Hogberg. And his last appearance in the NHL came 3 years ago with the Ottawa Senators. I throw that in there because he's another former Senator goalie, which is surfacing in the NHL. And maybe like some of his predecessors, he'll go on to good things because that seems to happen a lot with Sens goaltenders once they leave Ottawa. Although Omark is looking a little better these last 2 games. Let's give credit where it's due. Ottawa last night, Josh Norris, that's the biggest goal of the year. Biggest goal of the year so far for the Ottawa Senators as they try and jumpstart this season. They've got to leapfrog a pile of teams and get themselves back in that playoff race. That's the bad news. The good news is they're only a handful of points out. They're 3, and it's a log jam. I mean, the Habs are 1 point back of Ottawa, and they're last. Ottawa's a game in hand on them, but there's games in hand, everything else. You got to take care of your own business. And I'll just tell you quickly what you can do as a fan, okay? If you ever want to see just how difficult it is to make up points, when you look at the standings, go to the last column, last 10 games, and see what everybody has done. Just do a quick, in your head, do the math. 2 points for the win, as you know, 1 point for a OT loss or shootout loss. And do the math over, just pick any random team that's either just ahead or just behind you or whomever you want to compare yourself against, whichever team you cheer for. and you can see how many points your team has gotten in the last 10 games, and then do whoever is right around you. And you can see, for the most part, on average, if you've played well, let's say you've gone 7-3, which is really good. You've picked up 14 points. The team you're probably chasing probably got 10 or 11. In 10 games, you may have picked up 3 points by going 7-3. These are the types of runs that Ottawa now needs to go on. That you have to do it now. Got 3 games left on this homestand before they have to move out of the city, if you will, around Christmas because of the World Juniors. So let's see what happens. Big goal by Josh Norris last night as Detroit was looking for a point minimally in the extra frame. Didn't get that. Now Ottawa's tied with Detroit, and it's a whole new ball game. You just got to get the W's, baby. Got to get the W's. What else have I got for you? The Parayko goal last night. I watched that. St. Louis. By the way, the other interesting thing about last night is everybody that got selected, at least for Team Canada, they had great games. You see this all the time. I've seen this before. Guys get picked for international. The Olympics normally is what we've seen because we've had nothing of this stature mid-season before. So this is unusual, what we're going to have in February. I talked about it the other day, how everyone's got to relax. It's just a made-for-TV event, and these games are all one-offs. But it's just going to be fantastic. I think the hockey's going to be spectacular because everyone's going to be in outstanding shape, and pride will take over. You'll see some banging. You're not going to see teammates go flat out hard against each other like crazy, but it's going to be entertaining as hell. Anyway, Parayko, as we know, has been selected for Team Canada. That might help that his GM is the GM for Team Canada. That's okay. We see that all the time. Look, Glenn Sather took 7 Oilers in 1984 on the Canada Cup. I mean, guys, are you serious right now with this? I mean, everybody got Gretzky and Messier and Glenn Anderson and Paul Coffey, but come on. Well, they went and won the friggin' tournament. So what are you going to say then? So let's see what happens. But Parayko last night, St. Louis wins in overtime. He gets the goal. It was video reviewed for a long time. It was a good goal. It was a good goal. The puck was loose. You put your stick in there, whatever happens at that point. This isn't where the puck was frozen. Stick went in on the pad, pushed the pad in. They got it right. Not in agreement with the eye in the sky all the time, but they got it right. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, they beat Calgary 4-3. Calgary, of course, just on the heels of the phenomenal appearance by Mr. and Mrs. Gaudreau. Johnny's parents were there. He was first star of the game. They brought him up, gave him the game puck. If you got a few minutes, go online and watch him in the dressing room after the game. It's difficult, though. Gets emotional. Still very maddening and frustrating beyond belief, that senseless accident. But anyway, they got a point last night, but St. Louis got the W. St. Louis, by the way, that's 8 wins by 1 goal. That's tied for the most in the league. Pretty much done. Oh, yeah, Binnington, another Team Canada guy, gets a W last night. That was his 300th 300th game for St. Louis. Well, NHL game. And that puts him 47 back of the St. Louis Blue all-time leader, which is Mike Liut, with 347. And the best for last is Connor McDavid. Another 4-point game last night. I should say another. Another for him anyway. I think that's 45 or 46 that he's had now. Yeah, he's a couple hundred back of Wayne, but hey, listen, by today's standards, what he's doing is remarkable. He's moved himself up into 6th or 7th in scoring despite missing a few games, and Edmonton looked good last night. They beat Columbus, 4 assists for Connor. 455 goals Connor and Leon have been on together in their career. 455. It's by nowhere near the NHL record, but it's still very freaking impressive. That's it, Jacob Trouba. I'll finish on this note. Look, he's done in New York. This is not precedent setting. They did the same thing with Barclay Goodrow. I think Chris Drury's coming under some heat as general manager in New York. There's no doubt that Trouba's going. He's got a no trade. Sound familiar? We just had Danny Heatley in town here as the pizza line was honored last night in Ottawa. And that was great to see, by the way. I wasn't at the game, but the applause and the the reverence that was given to the line, I think, was appropriate. And they absolutely tore it up there in the mid part of that 2000s as the first 10 years there around that after Danny came over. I think it was 06 or whatever it was, 05, 06. And absolutely lit it up here, right? To 250-goal seasons. And that line was outstanding. They probably, well, no one deserves anything, but they maybe should have got a Stanley Cup in there somewhere. They were that good in that 04 to 08 area, and he was a big part of it. That said, he nixed to no trade. He left under acrimonious situations. He could have gone to Edmonton. Brian Murray had a better deal. Ends up going to San Jose. We all know the story. Jacob Trouba, it's not his first rodeo. Traded a number of years back from Winnipeg in the Neil Pionk deal and a first-round selection. I believe it was a Finn named Hiola or something like that. And, I mean, he's done, man. He's done in New York. He's their captain. New York has been terrible. They've been floundering. And they've got they're shaking it up. They're shaking it up. And they're moving their captain, and they're making a big move here. And I say that with some sort of exclamation mark behind it, because if Ottawa continues to flounder, and we've all ridiculed Toronto for the last decade of the Austin Matthews era, not quite 10, you know what I mean, saying that core four, you're never going to win. It's probably the best Toronto team I've seen in the Matthews era. So let's see what happens postseason, because we've seen this song and dance before. Bottom line is, though, that sometimes you have to treat this 100% as a business. And you can't get emotionally attached or connected to your players, despite what they've done for you, all the good, if you don't think they're a piece of the puzzle that is going to help you win. Now, New York's case or window, such as it is higher even than Ottawa's. And say Ottawa's is higher than, say, Montreal's or some others. They're not showing it yet because they're scrambling to get back into a playoff spot. Just a few short weeks ago, the Rangers were in first in their division. How the mighty have fallen. So what are they doing? They're going to shake up the apple tree here big time. And where's he going to go? Well, he's not coming to Canada. I think Trouba has made that pretty apparent. He's American, by the way. Not saying he's a full-born flag waving, but he certainly appears to be that way. But anyway, he's done in New York. It's a monumental occurrence that's really blown up here in the last 48 to 72 hours. Where do I think? I'm going to say Detroit. I don't have any inside information. That's just my gut. Let's see what happens. We should have an answer by the next time I do my next Morenz Minute. Brought to you by Liam Maguire. Catch you next time. Good day.